Hello, welcome to the second, maybe final edition of Sixsoul's astrological review of the last MMA card. I spent a lot of time this week trying to make it better than last week's, and if I don't get more likes and comments on this video, this will be the last time I did it, because it was just a lot to watch 15 fights, do astrological reads on 15 fights, and keep notes on stuff I was going to read today. It was just a lot, but I'm happy to do it as long as you guys get something out of it. So if you do get something out of it, please let me know. And if you haven't watched the first one, basically I use astrology to help me make betting decisions when it comes to MMA and sports in general. And it gives me like insight into how a fighter is feeling before and during a fight. And it's very, very helpful. And very often you can kind of extrapolate how the fight is going to go based on that information. So that's why I'm sharing it with you. And if you don't believe in it, just view it as like every human has up days and down days. Like just view it as this is like an inside information, like secret information is like you can tell if that fighter is on a good day or a bad day, and then based on that information, we know how highly to rate each win. This is why I'm doing the video. And I've been keeping track of this for about 4 months now, and it's very, very, very useful, incredibly useful. So without further ado, Jafo Filho versus Daniel Barres. Fight of the night for me. I didn't see who won fight of the night or whatever, but this was fight of the night. Holy shit. Holy shit. I picked Jafo in Topology. I also bet Jafo because he had actually I should explain this first. So when I do my astrology calculations, I basically do it in points, and when you do it in basketball, the points literally reflect like exactly how much that team's going to win by. So like if Jafo was a basketball team, he had a 9-point advantage. If he was a basketball team, I would favor him to win by 9 points on an even playing field. It's kind of how it works. But in MMA, you have to take it in context. So a 9-point advantage, it doesn't necessarily, I would say that's a low medium average. I say the 1 to 9 range is low medium, 10 to 19 is medium, and anything above 20 that's a pretty massive fucking advantage, and they don't happen that often. But there was a few in here. There was a lot of surprising things in here, so keep watching. A lot of things I guarantee you are not expecting. The first one, Jafo Filho. He had +9 advantage in the syllable. So basically it means he was going to have an advantage in his drive to win. And you saw that in the fight. Right off the bat, he was getting owned. And I bet pretty heavily on him because it was an even money fight. And because both the stars and my brain picked Jafo Filho, I picked Filho versus Makayev. I swear in my typology, I picked him 3rd round submission versus Makayev. And he got it. He literally got the submission, but Makayev just didn't tap. Like I'm still pissed off about that because he was like a +600 underdog on that. And like I called that right. It could have been stopped by technical submission. A ref can't stop it when someone's ripping out your arm or your leg like that. But anyways, back to the fight. You saw what's his name? Barres, Daniel Barres. He was destroying Jafo for like the first few minutes. And I was like, oh my God, like this is a horrible start to this card. Oh shit. But he fucking came back. He came back, and you saw it that he had that drive to win. He had that extra drive to win, and that's what pushed him forward. So moving forward, I rate Barres pretty high, and I rate Filho pretty high. I think both guys going forward, I rate them high. I would bet on both guys again, for sure. Next fight, Bruna Brazil versus, what's her name? Shauna Bannon. Oh, God. Before we start talking about the fights, anyone else get the vibe that Shauna Bannon is the sluttiest girl to ever compete in the UFC? And I'm not exaggerating. Like, if you're like me and you meditate a lot, or like you can just see auras and stuff, like you could, it's just, I swear to God, no less than 300, but I'm estimating probably 500 to 1,000 disgusting Irish dicks have been in that musty old claptrap. And like just watching her, like she made me physically ill just watching her. She's just so disgusting. Like I would rather watch like Josie Ann Newton, because like a lot of the other disgusting female fighters are just like disgusting in a lesbian way. This was disgusting in a like a skanky fucking just disgusting Irish slag way. Anyways, I did pick her in Typology, but in the stars, Bruna had about a 7 advantage. She had Uranus on her 6th cusp, which meant that she would have the advantage in her discipline and like in her tactics and her discipline within the fight, like a small advantage. And that's pretty much what you saw happen. Very boring fight. Shauna's tough, I guess. I don't know. I don't think either fighter is that good. I don't think I didn't bet on this fight. This is a women's fight. Who cares? Like, I wouldn't bet on either of these fighters going forward. I'll say that. Next fight, Chris Duncan versus Yanal Ashmouz. So I picked Yanal in Typology, but this was a huge thing that made me bet heavy on Chris Duncan. There are two asteroids that I'm aware of. I'm sure there's more, but there's 2 asteroids that if they're on your ascendant or if they're on your signifying planet, like within 1 or 2 degrees, especially within 1 degree, you're going to get injured. And the closer it is in cusp, like the more severe the injury. Yanal Ashmouz had Vesta. It's Sedna and Vesta. Those are the 2 asteroids. He had it like, so it's basically with asteroids, you want it within a 2-degree orb. And then there's a term called minutes. Minute isn't referring to a time. It's referring to 1/60th of a degree is called a minute. So that's how, and then 1/60th of a minute is called a second. That's why they call it minutes and seconds, but it's a term of space. But anyways, he was like 10 minutes maximum. So 1/6 of a degree maximum away from his Vesta and his ascendant. So I knew he was going to get injured right off the bat. Like I knew it, and I knew it was going to be bad. And we saw that. He got injured like 1 or 2 minutes into the fight. He went to block a head kick and it broke his arm. And for the entire rest of the fight, he didn't throw one punch. He didn't use that arm at all, and he still performed pretty well. So going forward, Ashmouz he's a guy to bet on because he's going to fight for your money. He's a dog. Chris Duncan, I didn't rate him highly before this. I don't rate him highly now. The fact that he couldn't finish a one-armed man. The guy was one-armed for about 13 minutes of the fight and he couldn't finish him. And he looked good, but he looked good against a one-armed man. So I don't rate Duncan at all. And going forward, I rate Yanal Ashmouz. But like I said, I bet on Duncan heavily because I knew Yanal was going to get hurt. Like, this is why astrology is so fucking crucial, because these are 2 of my favorite asteroids because they never fail. They never, ever fail. If it tells you they're going to get injured, you're going to get injured. And the severity all depends on how close that asteroid is to your signifier. So, it is crazy. Like, astrology is almost always accurate, but it was insanely accurate in this card, especially in the early rounds. Later on, we had some surprises. But yes, Yanal, yes. Chris Duncan, no, going forward. Going forward, next fight, Ketlen Vieira versus Penny Kianzad. What is this? Penny had a 11-point advantage, and she still lost. I didn't bet this because women's MMA, I had Vieira in Typology, and even though Penny had a plus 11 advantage, I just looking at her strength of schedule, and I'm like, I don't know, man. Like, I just didn't trust her. I just didn't fucking trust her. So I didn't bet it. And then we saw for the most part, Ketlen Vieira dominate. She got owned at the end, and I think that had to do with the slight astrological advantage for Penny. But going forward, I don't think we learned that much. Vieira got a win while having a disadvantage in the stars, but she was already so much better on a skill level. Oh, my kitty's taking a poop right now. Great. Oh, he's taking a massive one. Great. Okay. So I didn't think really learned that much. Normally when you get a victory, when you're down by that much, it just means either you're that much better than your opponent or you really are that good. But I just think she was that much better than Penny Kianzad, which is like average women's bantamweight. I don't rate either. I don't rate that win or loss like good or bad. It's very neutral going forward for both. Like, I just don't. Next fight, Mahmoud Muradov versus Bam Bam. Okay, so Brian Barberina, he had he had Eris, which is normally a bad asteroid, but it was in retrograde. And in horary astrology, not in natal astrology and other astrologies, but in contest horary astrology, retrograde for most things, not all things, but for most things, it will flip the meaning of that. So even though it was a bad asteroid, it was retrograde, so it's actually a good asteroid. And we saw that. So this bad retrograde asteroid, which is actually good, Eris, it was really, really close to his IC, which means that's like his drive to win. It was very, very close. And that was the only like major formation in the stars that I saw. And that's what carried him to the decision loss. Because if this was a neutral playing ground, Muradov's getting that KO in the second round. I picked Muradov by second round KO. And there was he punched it in the second round. He punched him so hard, Barbarino went flying. He literally went flying. And if he didn't have that extra drive, he would have gotten finished right there. And I would have gotten another perfect. I think I got 2 perfects and 5 decision wins. So I did pretty good in calling it in topology in terms of exactly. But so going forward, I think Muradov's really good. Barbarina, he's Barbarina. I don't know why the fuck he's a middleweight, dude. He looks terrible at welterweight. I don't know why the fuck he went to middleweight and fought like a pretty skilled guy at Muradov. So I don't know. Moving forward, we already knew Muradov was good. I knew he was good. Like we didn't really learn much from this, but that's the reason why Barbarino survived, is it was in the stars. Next fight, Mick Parkin versus Jamal Pogues. I hammered Mick Parkin, hammered him because I thought he was going to win anyways. And then in the stars, let's see, where am I? In the stars, he had a plus 11 advantage. Pogues had a double negative against him, and both on his discipline and his drive to win. And then he had a slight advantage in strength, in like physical strength, how he was feeling that day, his body. So overall, Parkin had an 11 advantage, but it was mostly negatives on Pogues, not good stuff for Parkin. And because I already liked Pogues to win, and he was the underdog, I just hammered the hell out of him. I think at plus 130 or 140 or something like that, and I got that win. That was really cool. Going for Pogues, I remember his last fight against either Vandera or not Vandera, the other shitty fat heavyweight. Can't remember his name right now. But you know who I'm talking about, Parisian, Josh Parisian. I remember his first fight against that and thinking, I don't rate this guy at all. You got the win, but screw that guy. And this fight happened exactly how I thought it'd be, kind of boring, like low output heavyweights. Nothing really to see there. It's hard to rate Parkin's win because he had an advantage against a guy who I rate poorly. So both guys going forward, I don't really rate. But that was one of my biggest wins of the night, so that was cool. Next fight. Joel Alvarez versus Mark Jacasey. I called this perfectly on Tapology, and I bet it heavily because Mark Jacasey fucking sucks. And I think out of every single MMA fighter, period, Jacasey might be the fighter that I have the best read on. I don't think I've ever called any of his fights wrong. I'm pretty sure. I think he's had 9 fights. I'm pretty sure I'm 9-0 when it comes to him. I have such a good read on him, and because he's such a predictable fighter, and he's such an easy fighter to read for me. But anyways, he had a plus 5 advantage, and I don't even know. So there's certain I've only been doing this 4 months. There's people who've been doing this 20, 30 years, and they're still learning things. And I have asteroids that I don't have enough data on, so I don't know if they actually have an effect in horary astrology or not. But there's an asteroid I've been keeping my eye on called Doris. And just the fact that it's named Doris, and it's a very feminine asteroid. That's horrible when it comes to contest horary, obviously, unless it's retrograde. And this was on Alvarez's 6th cusp, which would hinder his discipline within the fight. But I didn't really see that much. So it was either a completely neutral fight or a slight advantage for Bone N-word. And Alvarez just did what we knew Alvarez was going to do. It was I don't rate this win at all because he should have got the win. Probably on neutral playing ground. Mark Jacasey sucks. He's absolutely terrible. I don't know why he's in the UFC. But I'm glad he is because I always call his fights fine. I always know when he's going to win and I always know he's going to lose. He's the easiest fight. If the fighter he's going to fight has no takedown defense, he's going to win. But if they got, then again, Alvarez has no takedown defense either, and he's still lost. I just felt like he was going to get submitted off his back because even though he will try to grapple you because he's too afraid to strike, even though he's a striker first, he's just too afraid to strike with actual good strikers. And yeah, there's not much going forward with that one. I bet Alvarez pretty heavily on that just because I just knew he was going to win. I should, if I would have bet him submission second round, but that's just, I don't do those. I usually just do money line bets. Yeah, because it's too risky. And I like winning. Like I would much rather win lower amounts than just like parlay shit or like go for like very specific things. Although I did kind of go back on that later in this card. Next fight. We got Roberts. Oh my God. Okay. Roberts versus Parsons. This is the first fight that I lost. I lost my bet. I picked Roberts to win in typology. And in the stars, he had a +9 advantage. Let's see. He had basically Parson. They both were positive in the stars. It's just that Roberts had a bigger advantage in the stars. So they both were feeling good, like in their body for the day. And in the first round, Danny Roberts clearly won. Second round, Parsons clearly won. I was super, super fucking pissed at Jason Herzog for stopping the fight. I think that was a horrible stoppage. You can make an argument that he was taking a lot of damage and shit, but you gotta let that fight go to round 3. Like he was still in it. Like he was getting wobbled and he was wobbling all around the second round, but he was never out of it. He was still with it. Horrible stoppage in my opinion. Although he was probably gonna lose the third anyway. But during that fight, I was screaming. I was like, "What the fuck are you doing?" Like he kept trying to slug it out with the slugger knot when he has no chin. Like Roberts is way, way better than Parsons technically, but he doesn't have the chin, but he wants to brawl. And I've never bet on Roberts ever. If his opponent has any power whatsoever, do not bet on him. Like that, this is like, I learned that with this fight. Fuck that shit. Holy crap. Fuck that shit. He will just throw away your money because that's what he did with me. Next fight, Daniel Marcos versus Davey Grant. Okay, I bet Daniel Marcos heavy. I had Daniel Marcos on my Tapology. In the stars, he had... In the stars, it's completely dead even. I think it was the only completely dead even fight in this card. And because it was dead even, and I liked Marcos to win, I bet him. And even though I was doubly invested in it, I thought, like watching it live, I thought Davey Grant won. So I don't know how much to take away from that fight. Like it was a dead even fight and it was like a robbery decision. Marcos didn't look as good as I thought he did. So I don't know how much to rate him going forward. And Grant looked pretty good. I don't know. I thought Grant won the fight pretty clearly. Not much to say there. Even playing field, robbery decision. Glad it was a robbery decision because I made money off it though. One of the few times it actually works out in my favor. Okay, next one. Culibao versus Murphy. Biggest advantage in the card for anyone was Lerone Murphy. Not only was Culibao severely hampered, but Murphy had a pretty good showing in the stars as well. So don't rate Culibao bad at all for this loss. He was destined to lose. Like he had like one of the worst possible points in the stars on his ascendant. He had one of the worst part you can have, and I've only seen it. The only person who came back from it that I've seen was Charles Oliveira, and that was because he's way better than Dariush, and Dariush also had an incredibly horrible starting point too. So that's the only reason why. So Culibao put up a good fight for all that. So Murphy, I don't rate. Murphy's good, but like don't rate this win high. He got this because of the stars, and Culibao lost because of the stars. Everything, even playing field, I don't know who wins. So yeah, don't shit on Culibao for this. Like just keep that in mind. Next fight, Jai Herbert versus Fresh ZM. Oh my god, dude. ZM had a +11 advantage. I picked Jai, and I didn't bet on this fight. This was like two low output strikers. I don't know. To be honest, I was kind of losing interest in the card at this point. Like I knew this was going to be a boring fight going in. No. Oh my god, Larry. I knew it was going to be a boring fight going in, and it exceeded my expectations in how boring it was. Like ZM won because he had the advantage in the stars, but it was a mirror match of two boring people. They should both be cut. I don't like either of them. Next fight, Paul Craig versus Andre Muniz. So this is where shit gets fucking interesting. So I'm guessing most of you would assume that Paul Craig had the advantage in the stars. Nope. No. Muniz had a pretty decent advantage in the stars. There's a slight chance that Mercury was it was just outside of cusp. Maybe it could have gotten in cusp before the fight started, and it could have helped Paul Craig to victory. But even with that, even if that's true, Paul Craig he was still at a disadvantage. He was still at a pretty severe disadvantage, even if that was true, and he still got the win. So going forward, Andre Muniz fucking sucks. I bet this fight. I will never bet Andre Muniz again. Fuck that guy. Larry, stop! Come on, dude. Jesus fucking Christ. No, get out of here. I have to yell at him because he eats shit and then he throws up and it's not good for his own advantage. I'm sorry, buddy, but I will yell at you if you're being a dick. Dookie man. Okay, so Andre Muniz going forward. No, oh god. But Paul Craig, I thought he was going to get chinned in the first round because cutting an extra 20 pounds, not great. I don't know. I'm trying to go fast because I don't know how much space my phone has left. So yeah, sorry I can't expound more. But yeah, Paul Craig, rate this win high. Muniz fucking sucks. Do not bet him going forward. Nathaniel Wood versus Andre Fili. I bet Andre Fili pretty hard, even though I had Wood in my topology because Fili had anywhere from a 16 to 23 advantage. It depended on exactly where, but basically Fili had the second biggest advantage out of everyone, and I thought he won the fight. I could be biased because I had a lot of money on it. I thought it was a robbery decision, but I just it was a really whether Fili won or not. In actuality, it was a massive advantage that just got him to that point. So I don't rate Wood lower just because he barely scraped by with a win, and don't rate Fili too high because he made it a really close fight with Nathaniel Wood. This this was just in the stars. He was just feeling really good, and we saw that in the fight too. He was feeling himself during the fight. You saw that play out exactly. He had a good showing. But Fili, he's up and down. You never really know what Andre Fili you're gonna get. I do believe when he's good, he can beat pretty much anyone, and we saw that in this fight. I do believe he beat Nathaniel Wood, but I was biased, and that was my biggest loss of the day. So yeah, I was a little salty about that. Next fight, Yulia Stolyarenko versus Molly McCann. This is another surprising one. You would think Stolyarenko would have a huge advantage in the stars. Nope. Molly McCann plus 11 in the stars. Molly McCann actually had